Hello, everybody. This is Frank Data Di Lorenzo. That countdown was interesting. It kind of went from 10 to 3. I don't know if anybody caught that. But in any event, sincere welcome to 2023. I hope we all make it the best year so far for everyone. So, Happy New Year. Very excited to kick things off with this first Quick Launch Live of 2023, talking about KPIs, key performance indicators, and how having a well governed data model in a powerful tool, in this case, like Power BI, or perhaps paginated reports can help you develop your KPIs. So, very excited about that. Few logistics. If you have any questions, please do put them in the comments. If you're here with us live, I always like to know that. Put a one. If you watch this, all of these recordings are on our Preferred Strategies LinkedIn Live or company page under events. So you can watch them anytime. If you watch it later, put a two. We'd like to know that they're being viewed. And remember, these are 15 minutes to give you some food for thought. If you want to reach out and talk about any concepts further, reach out to any of us. We'd be happy to discuss with you and engage. So, I am very excited this morning to introduce our speaker, who you all know by now, hopefully, our VP of Product Management, Mr. Ben Harrison, who is well versed in development of KPIs. Morning, Tom. Morning, LinkedIn user. Glad to have you with us. Ben, welcome to the broadcast.
Thanks, Frank, and Happy New Year to you.
Thanks. Happy New Year to you as well.
So you can see my screen, I hope. Is that what we're showing?
I haven't shared it yet, but we
Okay.
will be. Morning, Chase. Morning, Jill. There we go, Ben. You've got it up.
Okay, so you asked me to talk about KPIs and kind of how we see them and use them in preferred strategies. So I want to cover a couple different things about really two major topics. One is KPI in terms of the definitions of current ratio, days receivable, turnover. Those are kind of a key performance indicator, KPI key performance indicator. And how do you build those into a model that you would use? The other thing I want to talk about is actually this part of the visual, the actual card, the Power BI card, and how do you use that and set it up. So hopefully we can jump right in. Just before we start talking about the kind of the KPIs, it is worth knowing, where do we get our samples out of the box. So I'm going to click over here on this documentation, and we do have a pretty good documentation list of all those. We get our definitions from the Risk Management Association. So that's where we have created the meaning here. The truth is there's lots more you could track on KPIs, and this is just really a beginning. So let's talk a little bit about how these things go together. So thinking about this KPI idea of a current ratio, I've got a 4.4, and it's green, and it's green because it used to be 3.5. And so I'm better. I'm 25% better than I used to be. But
Hmm.
that's a nice point in time to know how I'm doing. I might want to know more details about that. So one of the things that we would say is your data model should have some depth behind it, so that if I use, in this case, a bookmark, it's going to just take me to another page. This other page has the details about that. So here's the same 4.4. It's green. But the nice thing about that is, KPI is really a ratio of two values, comparing this to another. And they can be any two values whatsoever. They can, and I'll show you some examples of what those might, some other possibilities. But in this case, it's a current ratio, and that's looking at current assets over current liabilities. And what I like to be able to do is say, okay, I'm at 4.4 here. Why am I green? Because a year ago, I was at 3.5. And even more than that, I can see a year ago that 3.5 here. What was it prior year? So that being able to see that at one shot gives me a lot of context about that number. Am I getting better? Am I getting worse? If I'm getting worse, is it the numerator? Is it the denominator? What is the information behind that? So again, using a KPI to draw my attention, and I guess that's what I would emphasize. If you're looking back at this first page of the KPIs, what you want to know is, which of these do I need to pay attention to today? And the KPI is a really good way to do that. I probably won't worry about green as much. I'm going to worry about reds. So days receivable, what's going on there? Again, I can click into it. I can see that I'm at 42.1. A year ago, I was at 41.9. So you can see that the number right there, the two comparisons. So I'm a little bit worse in this case. than a year ago. And so that's where hopefully this helps me understand my business. In the case of days receivable, I see that I've got declining net sales. At the same time, I've got a slight rise in receivables, and then overall is giving me this trend in the blue where I'm getting worse. And I might then be able to go focus the questions I'm going to ask about what's going on. So
Mm-hmm.
the red gave me a really quick look to see what's, what should I look into, and then the history over time allows me to see what is there a trend, is it seasonal, is it what I expect this time of year,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully uh, I can move on and get better insights.
So
That
Ben, if you go back to the main screen, I just wanted for more clarification, I guess. So when you develop these cards, and I think we're going to see one develop, so I'll be quick. What are the other data points on the card representing? I see PY prior year, and then is that compared to goal? The
Well,
other.
and again, I'll show you actually when we set that up, Frank. So thanks for asking. But essentially, the 42.1 is the current number, whatever I'm tracking. So this would be my ratio of days receivable as of right now. And then, and this the dark line here before right now, this is against PY. But you can have actually two goals, and let me just show you how that sets up. If I go and
Mhm.
create another report. So again, think about KPIs. I'm talking about two things. One is the definition of current ratio or total assets or fixed worth. But then the other things is KPI card, and in Power BI that card is really just that one visual that doesn't give you as much answers as tells you, look at me, something's wrong, that I need attention, not me personally, but the metric that we're talking about. So let's go over to another report, and I've got actually Power BI desktop up and running. And in this case, you notice that I've got a whole set of KPI cards here, and some of them are green, some of them are red, some of them are yellow.
Mhm.
So again, this is maybe not the most revealing set of data sets. It's kind of revenue, month to date, quarter to date, year to date, gross profit, month to date, quarter to date, year to date, and all the way down through expenses and net income. But what this is telling me is green means I've got actually two targets, budget and prior year. Green means I'm meeting both of them. Red means I'm not beating either one. In this case, 12.1. A year ago, it was at 13.8 and 13.3. Budget was 13.8. Prior year was 13.3. Yellow means I'm beating one or the other. And notice that I've got KPIs for percentages and dollars. And that's important also. You think about it. So
Mhm.
maybe the absolute value is better, but the percentage to revenue is worse. And you might want to be able to compare from a quick visual comparison, not only is what's the change in my dollar amount, but what's the change in the percentage. That's where ratios are really helpful to kind of normalize your understanding of what really needs attention. And again, think about, in my mind, KPIs are about drawing attention to something that needs you to understand what's happening. So what I like to do is make one of these real quick, if that makes if that
That would
makes
be great, Ben. I think we'd all die in to see one. And Ben, while you're going through that, if you could just explain, you'll probably do this. What makes this easier by using a transform data model as opposed to doing it off the raw, say JD Edwards or Vista data as an example?
yeah. So I'll do that. So I got a blank page here. I'm just going to pick this KPI card. Again, there's all sorts of visual choices. We're talking about KPIs today. So when I pick that card, I get this here on the screen, and there's really only three values here. Again, KPI cards are pretty straightforward,
Yeah.
but our data model allows me to go through maybe and see what am I caring about. In this case, let's look at expenses. And I might come down and say, well, show me my actual expense amount year to date. You notice that I got month to date, quarter to date, year to date. So I can just quickly drag year to date into that value field. And now what do I want to compare that to? Well, maybe I'd like to compare that to actual expenses amount prior year, year to date. So again, this is structured really well. I can, your average person is going to figure out right away PYYTD. YTD is prior year, year to date, and I can drag that to my target. And because I'm doing year to date, the last thing missing in this is this trend axis. I need to be able to say, okay, if I'm comparing this number to that number, over how far of a time frame am I doing so? And that's another important part, as that KPIs need to have a time dimension to it to do that comparison. Is it to last month? Is it to last quarter? Is it to last year? What is that comparison? So I'm going to go ahead and in the calendar table, add the last element of this and say, I'm looking at the trend year to year. And all of a sudden I've got then a number here. In this case, it's green. My expenses are higher than my goal. Now that's kind of interesting. That's not what I expected it to be. Let me go ahead and add one more thing here. Notice I've only got two elements, the expense amount year to date and prior year expenses amount year to date. I'd like to add budget to that. So I have that also in the model, expenses amount budget. I can just drag that down there. And now I have two goals. Goal one is the prior year. Goal two is my budget. Now I might want to format this so that it makes more sense to me. And so I might go to the formatting visual, and on the target label, I might want to actually say this is prior year, PY, and budget. And now I've changed that. I also might want to change maybe the value of the call out. I don't like seeing all those digits, so I can quickly come and say, well, let's make that into millions, and let's give it 3 decimal places. So again, really, really good formatting choices. I can actually take that the target label, and I can say, well, let's make that font a little bit bigger because it's pretty small right now. So you can see I'm kind of building that so that you can kind of size and make these work for you specifically. And that, again, that's important for visibility and usability. The last thing I think that's important is I noticed that it's green. And the truth is these are expenses. If expenses are higher than last year and higher than budget, that's probably bad, right? I don't want to spend more money. So you are able to come into this trend access and say high is good or low is good. And when I do that, I quickly change my coloring here. So obviously it's red because I'm spent more money this year than last year. I might want to add those percentages. You can change the color so that if the good color might be a lighter color, or you can swap these around and make them fit. So really, really nice formatting choices. Really,
Hey Ben,
customizable. Yes,
just because I see we only have 2 minutes, can I address a question to you?
please do.
Can you see it on the screen? Can you only view KPIs on your desktop, or are they available on a mobile device?
Oh no, KPIs are one of the best things on a mobile device. The reason being is they give you that really quick look at me. You may not want to drill down on your Apple Watch or on your mobile tablet or your phone, but at least you're going to see that quick, hey, pay attention. There's something wrong with this particular measure. And so they're very, very, very useful for mobile devices.
Excellent. Good
Other
question.
questions, Frank? I know I'm running out of time. I get excited about this.
Well, Ben, I'm just going to clarify one. So this is just for me, but we were showing the JDE KPIs, which is great. For our Vista friends that may be on, how do we handle KPIs in Vista? Is it based on CFMA? Could you just talk about that for
Yeah,
30
for the construction world, we've really built out the CFMA benchmarker KPIs. And I want to make clear, the KPIs are actually a single thing, a ratio, like a backlog to equity. That's a ratio, but the KPI is also this card. So we're talking about both things. The cards are what you use to pay attention to it. The ratio is what you build into your measures. And again, like you're saying in the Vista, we have KPIs based upon the CFMA benchmarker, and in JD Edwards, we've got these current ratio KPIs. So all these are predefined and built into the model.
I've got one other one. I'll put it up on screen. It's a good one. How hard would it be to build these KPIs with, say, Direct Vista or perhaps Direct JDE data, without a data model?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. You notice we have in here pre-built that year-to-date, month-to-date, quarter-to-date, and we have a calendar table in there. To use a KPI effectively, you have to have a date field. So even if you're going straight to Vista, you're going to have to create a way to put time-based intelligence in those measures to get that trend line. So there's actually a lot of steps. If you're going to build it directly against Vista data, you're going to have to do some extra work.
So defining comment there. In other words, I could probably build them myself with this because it's all preset. I probably would have a hard time building these off direct database data.
That's correct. Yeah.
Well, Ben, we're right on the mark. I mean, I could talk about these till what's today? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but we don't have that kind of time. So I'm going to stop sharing. Is there anything else you wanted to pop up before I do that?
No, thanks for having me on.
Well, Ben, I want to say a sincere thank you for taking us through a bit on KPIs. I want to thank folks out there that are viewing. And honestly, if you want to talk more about these, I heard someone say, I think Ben, Apple Watch. It is kind of cool to see them on your watch. You want to talk about anything, the technology or how they're built, or what's behind them, or the ability to drill behind a KPI to see the trends, just reach out. And Ben, sincere thank you again for the time today.
Well, thanks, Frank. Talk to you soon.
Take care, everybody. We're Preferred Strategies. We're all about your data. Reach out anytime. Have a great day.